This is CBN NewsWatch.
It is Tuesday, July 7th, 2020. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today with the number of coronavirus cases still on the rise. Is the death rate about to rise as well? We're going to talk to our medical reporter, Lorie Johnson, and we're going to ask her about a new study on the effectiveness of hydroxychloroquine. A weekend of deadly shootings in major cities, including 5 children. That has many people asking why these deaths aren't getting more attention. And it is called the Equality Act, a bill to give more legal protections to the LGBTQ people. But critics warn it's a major threat to religious freedom. And remembering Charlie Daniels, the country music icon, died Monday. We're going to take a look back at his incredible career and his Christian faith. All those stories and more are ahead in this edition of CBN NewsWatch. I want to begin this half hour with the coronavirus, the number of cases still rising, and Dr. Anthony Fauci issuing this warning.
The current state is really not good.
The country saw more than 45,000 new cases Monday as the U.S. death toll now crosses 130,000. And now, new restrictions going into effect. In Florida, Miami-Dade County is closing down restaurants and gyms. In California, some counties are curbing indoor dining as well, as Los Angeles saw a record number of cases over the 4th of July weekend. This comes as many people went to the beaches without social distancing or wearing masks. Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms also tested positive for COVID.
Seen the highest spike in numbers of people coming into our major hospital, Grady Hospital, which is the largest trauma center in the Southeast.
The death rate from the virus is down, but the Surgeon General, Dr. Jerome Adams, points out deaths can lag the infection rate by at least 2 weeks, possibly even more. CBN medical reporter Lorie Johnson is here now with us to talk more. So you hear what the Surgeon General is saying about that lag. Do you agree? Help us understand that.
Absolutely. So we do know that there is a lag time. We know that even after you're infected, there's a lag time before you even start having symptoms. It can be 3, 4, 5 days until you start having symptoms. And then you have those symptoms for a little while and you're thinking, hey, this might be serious. Maybe I should go get tested. And then it takes a while for the test results to come back. So here we're already talking about a week. And then oftentimes if the person continues to get worse, it'll be 2 weeks before they're first admitted to the hospital. And on average, the lag time between when a person becomes infected and when they die is 1 month. So we really need to be keeping an eye on these statistics. The good news, Ephraim, is we know that there are so many new cases, but the good news is most of these cases are young people, and we know that young people in their 30s and 40s have very high success rates of surviving this, and even most don't even need hospitalizations. But really, we need to get that case number down.
Indeed, indeed. A new study late last week said hydroxychloroquine actually is effective in treating COVID-19. What did the study say?
Well, it's a very reliable study, and so people are like, hydroxychloroquine, bad, good, bad, good. So this is from the Henry Ford Medical Center in Michigan, and it was a very large study. It was a controlled study, which is what scientists really need, because it means some people are given the drug and some exact same types of patients were not given the drug. And we saw that about 3,000 patients, and there was people who took the drug had a 13% death rate. People who did not take the drug had a 26% death rate. So a significantly lower death rate for people who were given hydroxychloroquine. So people are naturally wondering, wait a minute, what about the other study that showed that it increased death or had no effect at all? And the big difference is in the Michigan study, patients were given hydroxychloroquine soon, within 24 hours after being admitted to the hospital. And doctors have thought all along that once you have so much virus in your body, a viral overload, that hydroxychloroquine might not be very effective. But it can stop the regeneration process early in the virus. And this is what we see with some antivirals with the flu, like Tamiflu. You know, they want you to get that as soon as possible before the virus has much chance to replicate and really overtake your body.
Okay, makes sense there. A group of scientists are arguing the virus can spread through the air in addition to person-to-person contact. What can you tell us about that?
Well, it's very concerning if this is true, because it would mean that that the virus aerosolizes. Right now, the health officials tell us that it's person-to-person contact, the big, heavy droplets that come out of our mouth when we talk or sing or cough or sneeze, and they can travel up to 6 feet. And then if they hit someone or if they don't, then they fall down and stay there. What these scientists are saying, and they're petitioning the WHO to adopt this measure and to warn people, is that these viruses can become aerosolized in teeny tiny particles that can hang in the air of unventilated inside spaces for like 30 feet. And they can stay there for a long time, even after the infected person has left the room. So that means, if this is true, that businesses, schools, hospitals are going to completely need to redo their ventilation system, install ultraviolet lights, and wear the N95 masks. The good news is this hasn't been proven. This is not settled science, and it is still under debate.
All right, good to know. Wow, thank you so much, Lorie. Much appreciated.
My pleasure.
The other major story we are following for you at this hour, the terrible gun violence in major cities over the 4th of July weekend. Scores more were killed and wounded in Chicago, Atlanta, and New York. For weeks, protesters have taken to the streets over racial injustice at the hands of police. But why aren't these deaths also getting some of the attention from the major media outlets and protesters? Charlene Aaron has more.
Georgia's governor is calling out the National Guard to protect the state capitol and the governor's mansion after deadly violence over the holiday weekend.
31 people were shot in 11 incidents, and the State Highway Patrol headquarters was attacked. One of the dead is 8-year-old Sequoia Turner, killed Sunday while riding with her mom and a family friend in Atlanta, not far from the burned-out Wendy's where Rayshard Brooks was killed by a white police officer. The area has since been occupied by armed demonstrators. In an emotional press conference, her parents leveling this accusation.
They say Black Lives Matter. You killed your own. Killed your own this time.
The shootings come after weeks of protests to defund police following the deaths of Brooks and George Floyd. Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms says enough is enough.
We are doing each other more harm than any police officer on this force. We've had over 75 shootings in this city over the past several weeks. You can't blame that on APD.
In a statement, Governor Brian Kemp said peaceful protests were hijacked by criminals with a dangerous, destructive agenda. Now innocent Georgians are being targeted, shot, and left for dead. This lawlessness must be stopped and order restored in our capital city. It happened in cities across the U.S. over the holiday weekend. 48 people shot in New York City alone on Sunday, 10 of them dying. The mayor blamed the coronavirus shutdown. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany called out the media for ignoring the crisis.
I didn't receive one question about New York City shootings doubling for the third straight week, and over the last 7 days, shootings skyrocket by 142%. Not one question. I didn't receive one question about 5 children who were killed.
The weekend marked Chicago's third straight that a child died from gun violence. Speaking on CBN News' Prayer Link, Chicago pastor Corey Brooks said fear has gripped inner city parents.
Well, people are scared to allow their children to go out to playgrounds and things of that sort.
Brooks pointing the finger at gang violence.
Unfortunately, a lot of the crimes are being committed by young black males between the ages of 16 to 25. And they're killing young black males between the ages of 16 to 25. And most of the time, they are affiliated with cliques, gangs, whatever you want to call it.
In an attempt to stem the tide, Brooks is using his nonprofit, Project Hood, helping others obtain destiny to bring peace.
We work very hard to make sure that we reach out into the community to these individuals specifically that are known shooters, the individuals who are potential shooters or have who are likely to be shot, giving them options and alternatives to change their lives around.
Meanwhile, Pastor Brooks believes prayer can turn the tide in Chicago. Starting July 7th through an organized effort with local churches, he's calling for 1 million Christians to join him in praying for an end to the violence. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
And you can see more of that interview with Pastor Corey Brooks and hear more about the revival going on in Minneapolis, where George Floyd died tonight. On the prayer link, it begins on the CBN News Channel at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. Coming up, it is called the Equality Act, and it's designed to give more legal protections to the LGBTQ community. But critics warn it also shreds Americans' religious freedoms. We'll have that story when we come back.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, to lead, just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
The landmark Supreme Court ruling giving LGBTQ people men workplace protections has emboldened supporters of a bill moving through Congress called the Equality Act. The measure would expand those rights, but critics say it eviscerates religious liberty. Jennifer Wishon brings us the story now from Washington.
It's called the Equality Act. Opponents say it's anything but, arguing it weaponizes the nation's civil rights laws against Americans who don't conform to the LGBT agenda. Emily Gao, director of the DeVos Center for Religion and Civil Society at the Heritage Foundation, says the bill forces Americans to live under a new sexual orthodoxy, one that would be imposed on the country by Uncle Sam.
It treats the people who believe that marriage is between a man and a woman, or that we're created male and female. It treats our beliefs as the equivalent of racist bigotry.
Female athletes would be required to compete with men identifying as women. Adoption agencies that only place children in homes with a mom and a dad would have to change the way they operate or close. Students attending Bible-believing schools wouldn't be eligible for federal loans. And that's not all.
The bill is passed.
The Democratic-controlled House passed the Equality Act last spring, and last month, emboldened Senate Democrats called it up for unanimous consent in an effort to expedite the bill. Only 3 Republicans spoke out against it.
No person should be discriminated against in America. No one.
But Langford says the Equality Act does just that by elevating the rights of LGBT Americans while dismissing those of Christians and other people of faith. And he points out the bill adds the words perception and belief to the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Untested language, Langford predicts, would lead to a rash of lawsuits across the country.
If I go to interview in a job and I'm not hired, I can sue that employer because I perceive they were thinking I was gay and so they didn't hire me. I don't have to prove anything. It's based simply on my perception or belief.
Opponents also say the bill completely guts religious liberty by saying the Religious Freedom Restoration Act that passed Congress overwhelmingly in 1993 doesn't apply as a defense, leaving people of faith without any legal recourse.
No piece of federal legislation that has ever been passed has ever said that.
So what's next? Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden says he'll make enactment of the Equality Act during his first 100 days a top legislative priority. But while Republicans maintain control of the Senate, and as long as there's a filibuster, for now, there doesn't appear to be 60 votes for the bill in its current form. Still, some religious freedom advocates say Republicans can't just keep saying no.
How much religious freedom we end up getting in this space, whether it's in the courts or in the legislatures, is really going to be dependent on how much common ground we can find with people who also very vigorously support LGBT rights.
Just look at Virginia, he says. When Democrats took over the state house this year, they quickly expanded LGBT protections.
If the only answer social conservatives or conservative Christians have is no, then as soon as the Democratic Party takes over a legislature, their answer becomes yes, and their answer becomes yes with no religious freedoms.
He points to alternatives to the Equality Act, like the Fairness for All Act, based on a Utah law which restores some protections for Christians, but a number of lawmakers argue not enough. And while racial justice and police reform measures are front and center now, the Equality Act is a top priority for Democrats who will quickly pass it if or when they're given a clear path. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News.
Racial tensions remain a major issue in the country, so we're going to look back at a story we did on a man who's working to bring people together in a unique way, a few people at a time.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy.
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
With racial tensions a top issue in America today, it is important to remember those who are working to heal the divide. Here again is a report we first brought you back in 2017 as Caitlin Burke brings us the story of one man who has taken on the issue in his own unique way.
Playing music comes as naturally as breathing for 58-year-old blues musician Daryl Davis.
Well, I've been playing music professionally full-time since 1980, when I graduated college at the age of 22.
Through music, Davis has formed some unique friendships.
That's Sam Phillips, the man who discovered Elvis Presley, Chuck Berry, the boxer Joe Frazier, Dolly Parton.
And also unlikely ones.
And that was the head of the Maryland Ku Klux Klan.
How did you get to be friends with members of the KKK?
I just happened to be, in 1983, country music had made a resurgence in this country. So I was the only black guy in this country band, and consequently, the only black guy in many of the places where we played.
One place was the Silver Dollar Lounge in Frederick, Maryland. After a performance, a white man stopped Davis as he walked off the stage.
And he says, you know, I really like your all's music. And I said, thank you. I shook his hand, and I don't drink, but I went back to his table and I had a cranberry juice with him. And then he makes the remark, when the waitress brings my cranberry juice, he clinks my glass and cheers me. And he says, you know, this is the first time I ever sat down and had a drink with a black man. Well, now I'm thinking, wow, you know, what's going on here? You know, this guy's really having a night of firsts. And I said, why? And again, I was naive, and I wasn't trying to be facetious. And I said, well, why is that? He stared at the tabletop and didn't answer me. And he had a friend sitting next to him. He goes, tell him. I said, tell me. And finally he says, I'm a member of the Ku Klux Klan.
Since age 10, when first confronted with the realities of racism, Davis pondered one question. How can you hate me when you don't know me? His unlikely KKK connection inspired him to start getting answers.
Some years later, I decided I was going to write a book on the Klan.
His research often put him in some dangerous situations, but it also led to an unexpected change in the relationship he shared with certain Klan members.
I would ask them questions, and they would answer the questions, but they wouldn't ask for my opinion. And then over time, you know, I would say, so what do you think about blah, blah, blah? And they would say, well, I think da, 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 da. And then they would say, well, what do you think about it, Daryl? Oh, wait a minute. All of a sudden I have value?
Davis says he's convinced 25 members of the Ku Klux Klan to leave the organization simply through friendly conversation.
And when they did so, they gave me their robes and hoods. That's just not done. Yeah. You know, this uniform represents white supremacy. And you're taking it off and giving it to a black man?
As a new generation of African Americans enter adulthood, they're fighting racism their own way. Rather than trying to change one mind at a time, as Davis has done, this activist generation is using social media to reach the masses.
Some in the Black Lives Matter movement have been critical of Davis, saying he's defeating their purpose with his relational approach.
The fact that I would sit down and spend so much time with the enemy when I should be devoting my time to changing the system of white supremacy.
Davis believes this younger generation has the right intent, although their methods can taint the mission.
You need a multi-prong attack, from the front, from the side, from the back, through the rear window, whatever. You don't change the system without changing the people behind the system. Okay? That's why I'm sitting down with them, and I've had success.
Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Baltimore, Maryland.
Coming up, remembering Charlie Daniels, we're going to bring you a look at the music legend's long and illustrious career and his Christian faith. We've got the story when we come back. Please stay with us.
Region's first ROTC graduate student.
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
Fans are mourning the loss of a country music icon and Southern rock legend. Charlie Daniels suffered a stroke and died Monday at age 83. In his country music career, Daniels also earned Dove Awards for his gospel albums. The Country Music Hall of Famer often shared his faith story, including in multiple appearances here on CBN.
I wouldn't trade places with anybody in the world. I love what I do. I love being Charlie Daniels.
And fans loved Charlie Daniels. Many lined the streets of Mount Juliet, his Tennessee hometown, for the emotional and patriotic escort of his casket draped in an American flag.
He's a true patriot. He's helped out with our military for as long as I can remember. We've worked with him off and on for 15 years.
The singer, songwriter, guitarist, and fiddler began his career in the early 1970s as a sessions musician, even playing for Bob Dylan, selling millions of albums and touring sometimes more than 250 shows a year.
You've heard his music. He is one tremendous singer. Charlie Daniels, would you give him some applause? Charlie, it's good to have you with us. Good to be with you, Pat. Man.
Daniels made a few stops on the 700 Club along those tours, sitting down with host Pat Robertson just a few years ago.
You had a couple other really big hits.
We had a song called "The Devil Went Down to Georgia" in 1979 that has been our signature song, you could say.
Always giving a gentle nod to the faith he was happy to share with others.
I believe that Jesus Christ was the only begotten Son of God, that he came to earth, that he was nailed to a cross for my sins, that he left here. He ascended, and he's going to descend one of these days. He's going to come back and pick us up.
Charlie Daniels was 83. Time now for your Tuesday Tweetable. This is a message I pray will first touch your heart and then move you to post, tag, tweet, and share with others. Know this: God's love for you runs deep. There is no power on earth strong enough to shake it, take it, or make it stop. Embrace that truth and allow his deep love to embrace you. With that word, be sure you make today a terrific Tuesday. That will do it for this edition of CBN Newswatch. I want to remind you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel anytime or online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. Email us, newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.